As you begin to build your documents, one of the things you're going to want to know is how to save things and make sure they're in the right place, and then how to close them out properly so you don't lose anything that you've built. So as we work with this template, it was a company newsletter. I've clicked here and we'll just make up a company, Axe Designs. And as you're going through this document, you'll see a lot of help and support on building things, and different areas are ready to go. Different looks are all set up to go here. But what's important is, okay, I've made some changes, or maybe early on, as soon as you get into it, you want to save it. Now, we do have a save button up here, but one thing I want you to notice is that this is as a default document, a Word document called Document 3. Meaning at this point, I'm on the third default document that I've been working on since I've opened Word. And once I close Word out altogether, it starts over with Document 1, Document 2, and 3, and so forth. But it doesn't want you to keep those names. It doesn't want you to keep files as Document 1, 2, and 3, and so forth. It wants you to save it as something else. So even though I click Save, it's actually going to put me into what's called a Save As scenario. If I go into File, it'll do the same thing. If I click Save, I'm going to end up at Save As because it's prompting me to save it as something else other than Document 3. So that's important to know. I'm going to go ahead and click Save just to prove it to you. There we go. And as soon as I hit that, it moves me into Save As. I can put it out to the SkyDrive. I'd have to log in and have space for that. My computer, so I can choose recent folders, or I can browse to wherever I want. I'm just going to go into... let's put it on the desktop here. There we go. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to call it Axe Designs. Okay, and notice it's picking up the beginning part of the document, and it does that as a nice default. It looks at the very first line of text and tries to figure out what you're trying to call it. Well, that's okay. That saves me from typing some of this. So I'll say Axe Designs Company Newsletter. And if you have your extensions, your file extensions showing, you'll see this .dox. Here, I'll highlight that. You may not see that. It just depends if your folders are told to show that information or not. So if you don't see it, don't worry. You're still being able to save it. Save as type a Word document .docx. So for this Word version 2013, it'll be docx as a file extension name, so it's a Word document. And then if you wanted to create other places for it to save, either way you want that. The whole point here is that you're going to go into Save As until it's been saved already. So I'm going to click Save. There we go. And it will change the title up here, Axe Designs Company Newsletter.docx, or if your extensions are not showing, it'll stop after the word newsletter and it'll say -word. Okay. Now, at this point, if I say, okay, I'm going to change some of this information, like I want to talk more about this area right here, I can replace this section with here. So, welcome to our first company newsletter. There we go. And as I make my changes, one of the things that you can do right away is just save it. So the difference here, when we had File, Save As was to initially name it. Now that I've updated and I want to keep the same name, just updated, an updated file, I just want to hit Save. Okay. Now don't forget, on your quick access toolbar, there's Save up there, so you could have just clicked that. You can also do Control S for saving, so all of those works. Okay. So as we start to do this, I've saved that file, and then I may say, okay, I've built the first one, I've saved it, and well, let me go ahead and build the second one. So I'm going to put the word second in there, and now I might use Save As because I don't want to mess up the original. Okay, so I'm going to do Save As, and I'm going to put it out to the same area, and I'm going to say Axe Designs Company Newsletter, second edition. There we go. So this is an example of where you would use save as. I mean, I'm building off an existing, in this case, newsletter. I've made some changes to it, or I don't have to make any changes. I can just automatically save it as a whole nother file and then work on it as a separate file. So I'm going to go ahead and hit save. And now it'll say Company Newsletter 2nd Edition. Okay. So as you go back and you're looking for your other documents, like open, you'll have your original here. There we go. And it's going to open a separate window. So there's the original one, our first company newsletter. And then here's our second one, our second company newsletter. So as you work through saving, those are really good things to know so that you don't lose your work and get frustrated trying to find things. And hopefully you haven't saved over one because you'll probably have to recreate it at that point. Now, another good question is, okay, how do I close them? Well, a good way to do it is go to the File tab and then down here hit Close. If it hasn't saved it recently, meaning it hasn't saved it after some changes, it'll ask you if you want to save it now. So, for example, I've got the second company newsletter. You're welcome to our second personalized. I want to add that word there. Company newsletter, something like that. And then when I go to save it or even close it, so I'm just going to go ahead and do File Close, it'll ask me, do you want to save your changes? So if I hit don't, it will get rid of any of the changes I have had since the last save. But I do because I want it to update, so I'll click Save. So it saves it and then it closes the file. So sometimes that could save you some time as you're closing out any changes that you've had. Make sure you hit Save. And not only will it save it, update it, but then it will also close it for you.